what made you, want to start to participate in the electronic music in the world,
Well, I'd always been fascinated with electronic music, even starting back in like the rap era from like the 80s and whatnot. Just listening to like the beats and how it was made, synthesizers and drum machines, that always fascinated me. And of course, getting into house music, club music, and eventually techno music. It wasn't until like probably 2000 I was hearing some stuff, or even like 1997, 1998, that I was listening to things, and it just kind of sounded the same, like all the records coming out each week, they sounded like everything else, and I thought, well, I can do it better than that. Let me, I've got some ideas. I'm gonna try it. I can do it. It's probably pretty easy. And I started producing, and it wasn't that easy. It was a lot harder than I thought. But I was really good with computers, and that was kind of the time where using your computer to make music was really just starting, and I kind of got in at the early level of that. That's why I wanted to do it, I guess.
Cool. When did you really feel like electronic music was really what you like to do?
Well, it was something I enjoyed listening to. There were clubs and raves and whatnot that I went to, and I enjoyed it. And then it wasn't until I was making music, and it was probably around 2003 that I knew that, okay, I'm making some stuff that people are really liking, they're really into it, and I'm pretty good at this. And then in 2004 I decided, after a phone call, when let's rewind. I was on Cocoon, their roster, their booking roster, and I was on their label doing some music, and they called me one week saying, hey, listen, I know it's short notice, but next week, coming up, and we have a weekend for you in Greece, and we're going to pay you so many dollars, and you're going to stay there for a weekend, you're going to have this beautiful hotel overlooking, I don't know, some beautiful Greek island. And I had to say, yeah, I can't do that, I have to work this weekend. And I hung up the phone, and I decided, something's wrong here, like, why can't I get paid for doing something I really love instead of doing this stupid IT job which was just sucking the life out of me. So around 2004 is when I said, alright, I'm doing this professional. And it's a lot of work. It ended up being just as hard as work as my day job, but the payoff is so much better. Like going places in Colombia and drinking coffee in Colombia and like going to hotels and eating all the wonderful food that the world has to offer. And that's the fun part. All the work you put into it behind the scenes is a lot, but it's worth it,
That's cool.
And that's when I decided like, yeah, electronic music's the thing for me.
That was the point. Well, they want to know, like, how was the scene in Brooklyn just when you started?
Well, when I first started living in Brooklyn, which was like in 1996, I moved from Illinois. Actually, I was Illinois, then Philadelphia. I was in Philadelphia for about a year. Then I moved from Philadelphia to New York in 1996. And the scene in Brooklyn was pretty warehouse. There was no clubs that really supported the music. I mean, we had like Limelight, which was pretty good, which then became Avalon, and some other clubs. But it was kind of on the downfall, I would say, in the late 90s. There was more of like the rave scene was really taking off. So Brooklyn was big for like warehouses and like kind of like illegal raves, where basically they just set up a sound system in the middle of nowhere. But it was really on the downfall because the police were cracking down, and there was really no place to do it, properly, at least that I knew of. So, but now after a while, Brooklyn has some really good stuff, you know, because we have neighborhoods like, Fort Greene and, of course, you know, in Williamsburg, where like it's the new Soho and all the hipsters and everything. They've kind of like embraced electronic music, and yeah, it's got a good scene out there. Now like Bunker is out in Brooklyn. Brian is throwing Bunker in Brooklyn, and there's tons of one-offs in Brooklyn. So it's the scene now is much better than I remember it being when I first started, actually. So
Yeah.
at least in my opinion.
So John, so before being a musician and, you know, doing that, what exactly did you want to do in life?
Well, I was pretty happy just working with computers. I was kind of doing system admin, desktop support, you know, a little bit of network engineering. Kind of always had my hands in the computer world. I had wanted to be a programmer. I wanted to program video games or just do some sort of programming. But really, just being at a desk in a cubicle for hours on end just didn't suit me. Which ironically I can do in the studio, but I can't do it in a cubicle. Yeah, so then I decided, okay, you know, I'm happy just doing computer support, you know, just like working with computers, and it always had something to do with that, and just music was kind of an extension of that. Still working with computers, but now making music on computers, and okay, I can use the keyboards with the computers, and I can record it into it, and yeah, so it wasn't until I started getting, I guess, good at making music that I wanted to start doing it. I was totally happy working with computers and supporting computers for the rest of my life.
That's cool. Jonathan,
I like ambient music and chill out, and you know, I think there's some good chill out and ambient music, just like there's good and bad sort of dance music as well. The people who are really innovators, you know, like Tekra, Boys of Canada, you know, Caribou, who used to be Manitoba, all the, you know, Nightmares on Wax, all these guys, basically everything on like Warp and those labels. I was just buying all that stuff up because they really kind of push the envelope. There is no rules for them, you know. We kind of have this box with dance music. It's got to be not too slow and not too fast, but everything in between that we kind of make up, you know. Like we can make up everything in between that. Whereas there is no rules. They can go as slow as they want. They can go as fast as they want. You know, it's with electronic or IDM or chill out. And that's really inspiring. And listening to some of these guys and what they're doing, I guess just the same way you would get inspired by a piece of art or a place you've been, the same when you listen to a good piece of music, no matter what it is. Chill out, rock and roll, you know, heavy metal. It doesn't matter. It's inspiring. That's what I think.
Pregúntale qué prefieres tocar de géneros de
between all the types of electronic, what do you prefer to play?
What do I prefer to play?
Yeah.
I guess I play techno, whatever. Techno, whatever they're calling techno these days. My own brand of techno. It's always got to be, you know, for me when I'm playing, it's always got to have that kind of mental element, you know. We had in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, it was called acid music, or acid house, or acid techno, which was very like 303 based, and it was just really trippy stuff. That was always my favorite, you know, it's just this trippy music. Whether or not you're doing drugs or not, it doesn't matter. I want you to listen to music and really just get out of your skull, you know, and just leave it all behind, you know. I mean, there's DJs that are really into, you know, it's the party music, or it's rockin', or it's in there, and that's cool, you know, and I even play that when I DJ sometimes, but really the main element, when I'm looking for tracks to play, or if I'm making music to play, it's always got that, okay, check your brain at the door, we're gonna go on a trip type of music.
Yeah.
That's always my style, you know.
Cool. So, you know, you're part of this whole scene of DJs around the world. have you heard anything about Colombia, from them?
¿Qué piensan de Colombia?
What do they think of Colombia?
Well, I think everybody's got the same general idea about the Latin American people. When you go to a party, it's so emotional and it's very from the heart. Someone's not gonna jump up and down if they don't like it, and same way, if they really like something, it's hard for them to contain themselves. They're passionate, they're energetic people. That's just Latin America in general. Now Colombia is funny because some people won't play here. Some people are very afraid to play in Colombia because they think it's like, 1980s, Pablo Escobar, fucking mafia rule, it's gunfire, it might as well be the fucking streets of Iraq, And it's not like that. And that's like the main misconception. It's like, it's beautiful here. Some of the nicest people in the world are here. And, I'm not going to mention any names, but the first time I ever played Bogota, the promoter I was playing for had hired a big name DJ from Europe, and like a week before he was supposed to play, he was canceling. Just like, can I wear my watch there? And is it safe? And can you get me a bodyguard? It's like, bro, I don't know what you've been fucking reading or smoking, but it's not like that, But some people still have that stigma, from like the 80s to come here. And it's funny that back in the day, when we were minimal DJs or like the minimal scene, all these minimal DJs were coming here, that these like big name techno guys were just so hardcore, like they're pushing out, not coming to Colombia. So I think it was funny. I thought that was really, really cool. But that's generally what people think, when the first...
Y de la escena electrónica.
Some people, you mentioned Colombia, some DJs, it's like, oh yeah, it's amazing there. The food, the people, the women, the clubs, the sound, it's just so amazing there. And then some people, when you mention Colombia, the first thing they think is like, nah, I'm not going to go there. It's a little too dangerous, especially for some Europeans, because they don't know, they haven't been here, they don't know what it's like, and they just think it's like this war zone, it might as well be fucking Beirut or Iraq, It's not like that at all. It's beautiful here. Beautiful.
So,
De la escena.
okay,
¿Qué piensa acerca de la escena colombiana? De la
what
escena
do you
electrónica.
think about the electronic scene in Colombia? Like, how do you...
It's great. It's great. It's wonderful because at least all the parties I've played have always been amazing crowds and amazing people, and people who are very enthusiastic and much more open-minded than I thought, especially like in places like Medellin when I played there, and also in Cali. People really have open minds, because I thought I would have to keep it a little bit, not so weird, not so, I have to keep it a little bit more sing-songy or whatever, just like don't go so weird, Tony, they might not get it. But they do. They really did. I went there and they were into it and they were following, and like, there were no people standing on the side wondering like, well, this is way too weird. Even for electronic music, I'm not into this. But that wasn't the case. The people were really, they were going with it. I was taking them on a journey and they were happy to ride along.
So obviously you never play in Pereira. You played in other places in Colombia. What exactly are you expecting from Pereira? Like, what do you think it's going to be like?
Well, personally, what I always do is just, it's a mental trick. I just expect that it's going to suck. I always just think no one's going to show up, it's going to be horrible, and that's going to be that, because you can only go up after that.
Yes,
If you start off thinking it's going to be horrible and then it's amazing, then alright. But if you think it's going to be amazing and then it's not so good, you kind of let down. So I always think, okay, it's not going to be that many people. But that's just a mental trick I play on myself, just to keep myself from going crazy.
Cool. So they want to know what your first production was named, and
Radiator.
When?
Radiator in 1998. A friend of mine, Dietrich Schoenemann, was also running a label called Hidden Agenda, which is still out there, still putting out releases. And he did this compilation. I think Hidden Agenda 3 was Volume 3, Co-Conspirators, which is basically a various artist album. And I had gotten together a few pieces of gear that I liked and produced this track called Radiator. And I think it was like 1997, 1998. Radiator. That was the first thing I produced that I had out.
Yeah.
I mean, we all produce stuff, but then someone listens to it and goes, "You might want to keep working on that." You know.
How many productions do you have so far?
I don't even know at this point. I don't even know. I've got two dance albums. I have a chill out, weird experimental album I've done. I mean, God knows how many remixes. I don't know how many releases. It's got to be in the hundreds.
Just love
Google
keep
it.
doing.
Google it. You can put it right here, you know. You can do the search and then on Discogs and then put the number right here. Tony has.
And what are your plans right now? What projects are you working on right now?
Projects right now. I'm trying to meet the deadline on this drum code compilation. Adam's putting out a drum code compilation, and he wants tracks from all the drum code artists, similar to like what Richie had done for the Plus 8 release. He's going to kind of do something like that, I think, for drum code coming up. I'm finishing up concert remixes. This is a remix for Steve Parker. I just did a remix for Air Fun. I'm putting together some more tracks for H Production, same people who put out Carrie Lackabush's album, Carrie Lackabush's label, which used to be Hybrid. But he's putting together more projects, so I'm getting together more tracks for him and doing a collaboration with Carrie, working on that. I'm concentrated right now on just finishing remixes that I said yes to, so I can start on some new material. Because I really said yes to way too many remixes this year, and just finishing all those. Because I can't just whip out these tracks like everybody thinks. Oh yeah, he's a machine, but like I'm not. I bore easily, so I can never do two of the same kind of thing or style. So I'm constantly evolving, and yeah, so I'm just trying to finish up remixes right now so I can start new material.
What are like the cons and pros for like being a DJ? Like
the ugly and the good.
The good, the bad,
good,
the ugly.
yes.
Well, I mean, the good is obviously going to different countries, meeting different people. Meeting friends everywhere I go. I seriously have a large amount of people that I constantly talk to around the world. That was amazing food. The food is probably, for me, the best part, you know, like going everywhere and just eating typical food from Georgia, you know, or Japan, or Colombia, or anywhere in Europe, Spain, Germany, all these different types of food. I love it, staying in places I never thought I'd stay, in cities I never thought I'd be in. The bad is waiting hours on end for someone to pick you up, or waiting in a hotel, not knowing where, what time your ride is picking you up, or waiting in a line for a flight, only to find out that it's been canceled and they lost all your luggage and you have to go here, or you have to spend another day somewhere but you really had to be home, or that's the bad. Really, just waiting in airports is the bad part, and losing stuff, getting stuff broken. I had drum machines that I used to bring out all the time, just to even when I was DJing and playing, or especially when I was playing live, and they're all broken, they're all missing knobs or bent, or something happened to them. But luckily, that's the work, that's the work.
Yeah.
Waiting for people to get back to you, taking forever for things to get approved. Sending out emails with tracks and people that, Tony sent this here, and we need to approve this and listen to this, and you're just waiting. So that's the bad.
Yes.
Luckily, the good far outweighs the bad.
Alright, so now we're just gonna we're gonna finish it up.
Okay.
I'm just gonna ask you I would say like Coke or Pepsi, and then you're just gonna say Pepsi or
Okay.
whatever your favorite is. Alright.
All right.
And it's just gonna be like
This is scary. Go ahead.
five of these.
All right.
Okay, Detroit or Chicago?
Chicago.
Do you do music to work or do you do music to party?
I do music to party. Those are two weird answers. Party, I guess. Yeah, party.
Alright, vodka or tequila?
Vodka.
Weed or LSD?
Weed.
Bueno, ya.
Alright, you're good. That's it.
Just Lil.
Un saludo para Tecnolop y terminamos.
Dígale que un saludito para
Tecnolop, que es el
para
colectivo.
Tecnolop, que es el colectivo de nosotros.
He just
Do you have
wants to
like
give like a shout out to Technolove.
Technolove? Is
That's-
it technolove.com or just Technolove or is
Just
it
Technolop.
Technolove?
Yes.
Technolove.
Okay. Hey, this is Tony Rohr, and a big love to Technolove.